Today's guest is someone who helps people turn their knowledge, their experience, and their stories into beautifully published books. Christopher John Payne is a publishing expert who's helped hundreds of clients bring their books to life, from writing and layout to getting them live on Amazon and into readers' hands. With a background in psychology and marketing, Christopher knows exactly how to guide people through the process, even if they've never written a word before. Chris, it's lovely to meet you.
Thrilled to meet you too. Thanks for having me on. And hello to all the Marketing Bugle and Vinyl Impressions followers, who I know will be listening.
Oh, they will be. Let's start with a little bit about your story. How did you get into helping people publish their own books?
I had a background in magazine publishing. I used to work for a computer magazine publisher and then set up a mail order business called Life Tools. So I was importing speed reading courses and meditation courses and general personal development courses into the UK and selling them via direct mail. So I was mailing up to 1 million letters a year around the UK. That was just little old me writing these letters, which were 8 or 16 page sales letters, and mailing them around the UK. And I put adverts in Men's Health magazine and Cosmopolitan magazine and New Scientist and all the national newspapers, and getting 250,000 people writing in. And the key out of all this, what matters, is I learned how to write. How do you write something that gets people to order online or ring in and buy and say, I have to have that now. I've only got a first page through a sales letter and I'm having to buy. And that's what I learned. And I just learned from the best.
So have you always been a writer?
Yeah, I developed it. The guy I worked for many years ago was a guy called Derek Meakin. Derek launched the first free newspaper in the UK. And Eddie Shah was a guy who created the Today newspaper, and he's quoted as saying Derek Meakin was my inspiration. And so I worked for Derek, and he taught me how to write. He would get me to write stuff for a magazine, and then he'd cover my printout in red ink. And I'd have to retype all the corrections, then I'd go back to him, and then he'd change it all again. And after a year, every time I used to give him something, he'd say, oh, Chris, you're not giving him anything because I'll never find anything because you're so good now. And he'd literally find one tiny thing. And we were like best buddies. He was decades older than me. He was like a surrogate father at the time. And he taught me so much about how you communicate with a reader and get them excited about a magazine or an article or whatever.
So when was this? How long ago were you working on those computer magazines and then subsequently starting your own business?
So you're looking at 40 years ago that this happened, and I was working with him for 7 years, and he eventually made me managing director of the software division, and I launched various bits of software that were very successful. And anyway, I left and literally started from scratch, and from my kitchen table set up this business, and slowly but surely built up a business that ended up with big offices and up to 25 people in the team, and big warehouse full of CD sets and DVD sets and video sets that I was mailing out. But it was me. I don't think I was the best manager or anything, but what I understood was the power of writing. And I just loved spending a lot of time sitting and writing these long form letters, which anybody watching has read. And that power, when you're reading it, you're shaking almost and thinking, oh my God, this sounds so exciting. I've got to hope it's not too expensive. And then sure enough, they think, oh, it's less than I thought. And then they buy it and they buy the upsells. That, for me, is such fun to put that together.
Going back to that time as well, you must have seen the dawn of the internet almost as a revelation in itself.
Very much. When, of course, I started, there wasn't the internet. And so I could launch stuff in the UK and put much higher price on it. I'd buy something in from America and almost maybe quadruple, double or triple the price, and add in all these extra bonuses, and there'd be enough margin for me to make a good profit. But when the internet came, people could say, I can actually buy this from America and save £5 or $5, but it'll take me 3 weeks extra to get the thing delivered. The business just changed when the internet came along.
What was the process for that? Was it a case of finding a product in the US and then buying the license so that you could republish it?
Yes, the process was that I would find products at exhibitions, conferences in the US, or through reading personal growthy magazines from the States, going through them and then ringing up the company and saying, I would like to sell this product in the UK for you. I mean, think of one case where the company in the States had created this product and it wasn't doing well. And they were really struggling financially. They sold the products to me, and I rewrote all their sales material, wrote it more enthusiastically, and I was selling far more in the UK, which is a fraction of the size of the American market, selling far more than they were selling in America. And then they saw what I was doing in how to put together a sales letter and then adopting some of those practices themselves.
That's amazing. So fast forward to today, now you are helping people write their own books. How did that transpire? How did you get to that point?
One of them was just a life change. I had a difficult marriage. I had a complete breakdown with the behavior of my wife at the time, I'll just be honest. So I completely collapsed. And I ended up having to close Live Tools as a result. And it's just one of these things that happens. And I thought, what would I do differently? So I decided to be a consultant. So what I would do is take people who were interested in making money online, and they might have a small email list, and they'd have a product. They'd spend 6 months developing it. They'd launch it to their email list and it would fail. And they'd come to me almost in tears. And I would say, right, sit down with me in my home and let's rewrite the sales letter. Let's redesign the website. Let's go into one of my bedrooms and we'll set up some lights and record some new videos. And then they would have much greater success. And part of that journey was a couple of those clients wanted help to create a book. And I owned about 3,000, not many, just 3,000 books. Is that many?
Quite a lot.
So I had 3,000 books, non-fiction books, and I was obsessed with non-fiction. And so I helped them put together those books. And so I started to do webinars showing the basics of how to produce books and sell them on Amazon. And I've now worked on over 300 books. And so what I basically do on a day-to-day basis is I have an online training program where I teach people to go from the vaguest of idea, or even no idea, to launching books on Amazon. And the thing about Amazon is if you have an idea for a book, people understand this idea of an ebook, and that could be a PDF. But what they don't know is they can actually upload that effectively to Amazon, and it doesn't cost anything. And that document can be turned into a Kindle ebook and also into a paperback very easily. And Amazon doesn't store stock. It actually manufactures the book as the order comes in. So it means that somebody listening to this could literally put together a book, upload it to Amazon, and it would be on sale tomorrow, and it could sell 100 copies tomorrow, but no money is being spent by you because Amazon takes all the money, like £10 or $10 for that book, and they give you the lion's share of the profit. So the big lesson with Amazon is you're uploading a digital file, you're spending no money at all, and you just reap the profits. And Amazon is doing all the promotion, a lot of the promotion for you. So I have people that I've worked with that have dozens of books on Amazon. And the great thing is you can use a pen name or a series of pen names. So you can be John Smith or Joanne Jones, and nobody will know it is you. So you can launch books in a multiple of niches. And now with the power of AI, you can use AI, if you use it cleverly, to launch as many books you want. So I say I've been involved in more than 300 books. In other words, if you came to my home, I could show you a bookcase and there are 300 books in it. And each one, if you pull out, it's got my name in it saying thank you, or there's a story about me in it, or I wrote it myself or whatever. And I'm ridiculously proud of that. And I used to go, when my mum was alive until recently, my dad, I'd go and show them, look what I've just been working on. And look what, this is working on Amazon. And they were ridiculously proud, which is great. Books really excite me. The first book I created was a list of stories of people, clients I worked with. And it was called Are You Next? And it was just full of stories of people who came to me, often in tears, seriously, really frustrated, really hurt that their business is failing. And my job was to hold their hand and guide them forward and actually do it for them wherever possible, because I felt that's what they deserved. And I think one of the reasons I care so much for my clients is because I went through this bad marriage. I felt how the therapist I was dealing with not only really wasn't listening to the pain that was going on, but equally that person who was our therapist wasn't really solving our problem. They just wanted our money every week. And so the relationship was not improving no matter what, how many hours or months we spent with them. And I was just so and the consequence was I nearly died from the pain of all this, having a psychotic collapse, as it were, which is so painful. And I thought, I'm not going to treat anybody like myself. People deserve better. And I think so many coaches and online experts aren't that great. And my job is to be the best I can possibly be, because that's really what people deserve. And I think most people can identify with that.
Absolutely. They always say that the cream rises to the top, and obviously you are top of your game when it comes to helping people publish their books online. I love the idea of actually being a physical book as well. There's something very special about that. The process, as you've explained it, is quite straightforward, but what do you think stops most people from writing their first book?
What stops people from writing their first book is imposter syndrome often, or this concept of how do we eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. And people really struggle with that. So what I tell people to do is create the smallest version of a book. So the smallest book you can create, physical book, is 24 pages, and that is 2,000 words. Now, this interview will be about 30 minutes, and as a result, that'll be me talking for about 5,000 words. So really, 10 minutes of our conversation would be the very first version of a book. So in my programs and whoever I work with, there is a template, and I say literally, I can just record you talking for 10 minutes, get it restructured using AI, and that will be the very first version of a book, and you will have it physically in your hands in 2 days' time. So literally, if you and I were sitting together, I would ask you a series of questions. We quickly use AI to pull it into shape, pour it into a template in Microsoft Word, save it as a PDF, upload it to Amazon, and say to Amazon, please, could you send me 5 copies as soon as possible? Within 36 hours, that's a day and a half from now, we'd have 5 copies in our hand. Yes? And nobody on Amazon would know. You can't find that book. So whatever it's called, you wouldn't be able to find it on Amazon. I've come up with a book last week that I put together in half an hour called Punch Them in the Face. And it's the idea that if you want to make an impact with people, like with a sales letter or with a free PDF or anything, you've got to punch them in the face, as in you've got to make them sit up and take notice. Of course, the exaggeration is this is not about violence, because of course I abhor violence, but it's about making people sit up and take notice. So I put that together very quickly in half an hour and just talked into an AI, and then got it structured, got a cover design within 3 minutes. And basically the book will be in here in my home very shortly. So we can do that now. It's speed. The key is you just need to be laser focused in terms of what you want to create. So bottom line, you can create a book literally with little as 10 or 15 minutes of speaking, and then have a good title, obviously, that goes with it. And that can go on sale. Now, some people still buy that, even if it's 24-page paperback, which would obviously be a small Kindle. And people will buy that through Kindle Limited or just through the Kindle. Kindle Limited is a subscription service that Amazon has millions of people in. And you could then just make that book better. And you just say, how can I make this better? And you can ask AI to make it better, and that will help. And you can add some of your own stories. But so what I try and do with my clients is say, go from a standing start to something in your hand in the fastest possible time. Because once you have a book in your hand, you go, my God, I can't believe it. I'm now a published author. And you can basically and you can show it to your partner or your children or your parents or your siblings or your friends, or keep it a secret. But it's just the first version. And there's something called all first drafts are rubbish, except there's a word which is SH1T, which was Ernest Hemingway, the most famous American writer. And so the first draft is just the first draft. And so you just keep incrementally, one step at a time, making it better.
I guess this is almost one of those rinse and repeat businesses, isn't it? Once you've got your first book and you're happy with it, perhaps, then you can move on to book number 2, 3, 4, or as you've done, book 300. So you can carry on doing this. Each one itself is bringing in some revenue, so that over time grows exponentially.
Exactly. And I have people in so I have two ways that I work with people, either through an online training. So everything they could possibly ask is in the online training, but equally they can drop me a line at my personal email address and say, what do you mean by that? But what about this case? And I answer them. And I do fortnightly trainings in an evening for a couple of hours where I show them new stuff about AI and also answering questions. But I also have one-on-one clients who just say, Chris, I don't want to learn how to do anything. Could you just put the book together for me? Which I would like to come back to. But what I have is my online people is I say, just put together something. So I have members, he said, oh, I'm going to put together, I can do this really quickly, which is a weekend I spent at this amazing football match with my mates in Europe. They wanted to do a few copies to give to their mates. And somebody was like, I'm going to do this gift for my wife. It's a really thin book, but it's all the homes we went to and the dogs we had. And it's got pictures of the dogs there. And they put it together really simply. And you think, nobody's going to buy it. No, it wasn't designed to be sold. It was designed to be given out. But because they did that, like just a trial, they then went on to produce books that actually a proper book that's only like 100 pages that actually solves somebody's problem that actually is making money for them online. So you've got to start with a home project, as it were, before you have the courage to say, now I understand the process. I'm now going to solve somebody's real problem.
So tell us, how can people get your guidance? What do they need to do to be able to reach out to you to find out more about this process?
The first thing is, if anybody's interested, they just drop me a line at my home email address, which is hellochrispayne@gmail.com. Payne is the surname. It's very easy to find me. My name is Christopher John Payne. I have a website, but that is the email address that my children contact me at and my siblings contact me at. I'm around, and most people will never contact me, and a few people will. And I just like being contacted by people who say, I need help. And so I will do the best I can to help them. And if anybody drops me a line, I'll give them a little gift for dropping me a line. I've got various PDFs that might be able to help them if they tell me what they're interested in, and I'm very happy to send that to them. And if they want to work with me one-on-one, they're very welcome. If they just want my online training, they can have my online training.
It's amazing. There's not many people that would give out their personal email address like that. So full kudos for doing so.
Most people are lovely. Most people are just so lovely, and they have been burned so much over the years, and they're desperate for somebody who will treat them respectfully.
Your advice would be, no matter how messy the first draft is, just get it completed. Is that right?
You've got it. And the thing is, people think, I haven't really got ideas. And I think people have. When I talk with people, and I love going up to people in coffee shops and chattering with the people behind the counter and all the rest. Or I go into a shop to buy a newspaper or a magazine or some chocolate or something. And I chat to people that what look like a very bored person behind the till. And there's nobody behind me, so just ask them something. They will end up telling me a story which is mind blowing, just blows your mind. And so I love connecting with people, and everybody has stories, and they just people are not used to being listened to, and as a result, they don't listen to their own really great thoughts. But I think there's an album, the band Genesis, the band called Genesis. There's one of the members of the band, Genesis. I heard of people, Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins. The other band member, one of the band members is Mike Rutherford, and he wrote an album, put together an album called Beggars on a Beach of Gold. And that's what we are. We're beggars, and that we're sitting on sand that actually is just gold and we're not realizing it. Basically, anybody who says, Chris, I know I've not got an idea for a book in me, I literally sit down with them, and within an hour or two, we've got an amazing book idea, because from their internal mind, and then they're like, I never would have thought that I could make money from that. I said, absolutely. And I can show you how to make £50,000 or $50,000 or £100,000, $100,000 from that idea, if that's what you want, because that is what you deserve. And there's something called La Deuxième Mort, the second death. There's a death of you and your body, and there's the death of it's the final time that your name is mentioned. And for many people, they die with the stories in them. And whereas others, they will tell stories or put it in a book, and their name will be spoken of for 50 years, 100 years, or 200 years, and they will change lives. I remember when I was very sick and I came out of my divorce, I became a coach, personal coach for people. And this couple came to see me, and the wife was considering divorcing the husband because he's driving her nuts. And she was saying, I don't know whether because I want to have a child and I don't know whether this guy's the right person. So I just work with them because I am obsessed with personal growth, and I'd read a lot of stuff about relationship dynamics after my divorce, especially. So I just worked with them. And then I saw them a year and a half later with their baby child. And I think that's what it's about. You work with people. Something that I say or you say will say to somebody that will make their lives better. And we all want to make other people's lives better. We want to feel that our life is worthwhile. And I think one of the ways that you can make it feel as though your life is worthwhile is to share what you know. And I'm sure everybody listening or reading this article can say, yeah, there's somebody who said, you know, that time you said to me X and Y 5 years ago, that really stuck with me, and that's really made a difference and really made my life so much better. And everybody really can relate to that. Somebody said that what they said really helped them, and it really makes a difference. But the difference is to have people emailing you at a secret email address. So it could be, I could use it like John Smith, bookwriter@gmail.com, could be a made up email address that you could use for your pseudonym, your pen name, your made up name that people won't know. They will drop you a line and say, your book had made a massive difference to my life, or might even have saved my life. And that's what everybody can do. And to wake up each morning to know that you have made somebody's life better is one of the greatest things you can ever do to yourself.
They say, don't they, that everybody has a book inside them.
Everybody does. But there's something called ugly baby syndrome. And it's this. Every parent thinks their baby's beautiful, but I'm very sorry, but some of them just aren't. And this is not a judgment about babies, because the truth is, I think all babies are actually gorgeous. But the concept is that sometimes our ideas are ugly. So we all think we have this brilliant idea for a book, but invariably when somebody comes to me and says, I've got this great idea for a book, I say, actually, it won't work as that. But if you just make these 3 changes, to change the title a little bit, focus more on this and less on that, you will sell. a lot. And the biggest mistake people make is that I want to write a book about the story of my life. I said, honestly, nobody cares, but it's what you went through. And so I had somebody who'd been very badly abused by she had been abused by her husband and she'd now divorced him. I said, and she'd now forgave him. I said, there's a book on forgiveness. So she put together a really lovely book on forgiveness and the power of forgiveness.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It was thrilled. She couldn't believe it. She was crying. She said, I can't believe I've got this book in front of me. My children can't believe that I'm a book author. And my whole sense of how I see myself has changed.
One of the things I love about you, Chris, is the way you're able to explain things so clearly and also to guide people in that way. As you say, life stories, yeah, they're useful for family members to perhaps learn more about you and your past. Maybe it's a great gift to give to grandchildren and so on, so it gets passed down the family. But that's only got a limited appeal. But to take that idea, as you say, about forgiveness, a lot of people can relate to that. So I guess it's about taking that initial idea and just thinking about what angle do I need to come from? Is that a fair assumption?
Yes, it's all about the angle that you come from. And it's saying, and you've got to distill it down, just like you can get like coffee. You buy it as granules or you buy it as a bean. You don't generally buy it in a supermarket with all the liquid in it. You have the granules. So you've got to you distill your story down to a core theme. And at the end of the day, if you really want to make a difference, don't think of your book as one book, think of it as three, because if you think of it as three possible books and then you focus on one, you're actually narrowing down to one facet of your story, one part of your story. And that way you're thinking, you think, what is it the reader really needs to hear? And they really do want to know your story, but the key is don't bore them. One of the rules is how long should a sales letter be, or how long should a book be? And the answer is it can be as long as it is. The key is don't bore anybody. And the purpose of the first line of a sales letter or in the first line of a book is to get people to read the next line. And what's the purpose? So the purpose of a headline is to read the first line of the letter. What's the purpose of the first line of the letter? To get people to read the second line. And what happens is people sit down to read a book, and what you want is them to be angry. I'm thinking, oh my God, I sat down to read this book and I only had 3 minutes. And here I am. It's an hour later and I'm going to be late for something. And they love it, even though they're annoyed. And so you want your readers to curse you because your book is so fascinating. Here's the thing. So the big thing is, can you make a solid living just from publishing books? Absolutely. You just have to be laser focused on your audience. And that is hard. I've never been anybody else. I've only been me. And I see the world through my eyes. And it's very difficult to know what other people think. And I'm sure anybody reading this or listening to this, our partners will say, so what do you think then? And what do you mean about? And they say, what do you think about what I was just thinking about? And we say, I didn't know what you think about because I can't read your mind. And partners often think we can mind read, and we just can't. We don't realize. So what we've always got to do is you've got to put yourself in the mind of your reader. And your reader, you as an individual know far more. Like, I know nothing about cars. I do know about book writing. I do know about personal growth and relationships and so on. But there's an awful lot I don't know about mountaineering and so on. But I forget how much I know about the subjects like book writing and so on. And it's the same with everybody. Everybody has a core knowledge that they know something about, and they just assume other people have the same. They don't. But if you actually sit down with somebody who's ignorant, a way to create a book is, let's say you're an expert on running, let's say, and somebody who would like to run. Well, you just sit down and then just listen to every question they have. And they ask the dumbest questions because they don't know nothing. But if you just answer every question they have and then get AI to structure that into a book, and I show prompts how to actually do that, then you actually will produce and publish a book that is exactly what the reader wanting. Because when that reader reads the book, you say, "Oh, this is really interesting. What I'd really like to know is this." And the next paragraph, it's "Oh my God, this next paragraph is exactly what I was just thinking." It's the writer of this book is a mind reader. And I said, "Oh, it'd be really good if the next chapter was about X." And they read the next chapter and it's about X. They go, "How can that be possible?" Because the writer actually thought it through and broke it down and structured everything. And so that's why people adore books, because it's laid out so cleverly that every question is addressed, so there's nothing left undone.
In terms of putting your first book together, let's say somebody is listening to this or reading this and they want to put their first book together. First of all, we've talked about how they should start, that rough draft, maybe talk for 10, 20 minutes or whatever. That gives you the first draft. What's the process after that, Chris? So how quickly could I get my first book published if I was to start straight after listening to this?
Yeah, tell you a story. A few weeks ago, a guy rang me up and said, "Could I fly you out to Spain to create a book with me?" He said, "I'll pay for your rates and fly you out. I'll pay for your flight. I'll pay for your travel. I'll pay for your hotel and all the food. Please you come out." And so I went out and I was like, "Great." So I flew out and second class. I'm not a prima donna. I'll just go coach class. So I fly out and I sit down with this guy and we literally sat in a hotel sitting room and I just asked him questions after question after question all day. And I recorded it with a device called the Limitless AI, which is a device which hooks onto your shirt. And what it does is it listens to everything around. So it heard my questions, it heard the answers from this individual. And then we did that for a full day. And then I spent the next day using an AI app and spent the whole day saying to it, basically I said, "Take my questions and integrate them with the answers this person do, but always make the answers be in that person's voice." So I was like, "I don't want to be mentioned here." And so it took all day, but that became a set of text. And all I did was I basically, to cut it a long story short, I have like a team member that I found through an online site. And he just took the raw text that I provided and put it into a template, a Word template, gave me back as a docx file and a PDF, and I simply uploaded them to Amazon with a cover that I got. I have a colleague who is a brilliant book cover designer. He's done thousands of book covers, some books that you may own. He has done the covers for, and he does a special rate for me and did this wonderful cover. And the books were in my hand 2 days later. All on Amazon. That particular person that I interviewed, they're making a few more changes, and then they can literally make some changes to the doc file, obviously save it as a PDF, and then they press the publish button on Amazon and charge $9.95, £9.95, and it'll be launched all over the world and people will find it because Amazon will say this book is about this, and Amazon will email people who have bought similar books.
Of course, of course. You mentioned AI a couple of times during our conversation. I'm involved with it with Marketing Bugle, which is interesting because some people love AI. Some people are very frightened about it. In terms of using AI to its full potential, I guess in this situation, if you are afraid of writing because of spelling mistakes or not explaining things very well, I guess AI really comes into its own. And this because it can proofread the book for you. It can help you correct any mistakes, any grammatical mistakes as well. Is that why you've embraced it yourself, Chris?
I really have embraced AI. At the time of this recording, the models have refined and refined. And so it's far better than it was a year or so, 2 years ago. But you do have to prompt it. And what I've certainly seen is some people create books using AI that are just dreadful. So there's a concept from 40, 50 years ago called garbage in, garbage out. So if you feed garbage into a computer, you get garbage out. So you do need to really be very careful what you ask of AI, and you need to be clear of the kind of language you want so that it's short sentences, simple words. It has some good stories in it, because you can't just have AI create it, because AI doesn't have a life. For me, if I'm writing a book, one of the things, if let's say I'm writing a book on relationships, a great way for me to start is I have had great relationships and I've failed in relationships and I have made mistakes, and certain things that I used to believe were true, I now believe are no longer true. And this is what I've learned and so I will add some of my own little stories and vignettes from my life, which will make the book far richer. So AI can't do that. It has to be a human, and AI will hallucinate. So it will give citations to various research that doesn't exist. And that's one of the side effects of what are called large language models, in that they hallucinate, because they're basically very clever text prediction tools. So when you try and text somebody on an iPhone or an Android phone, you'll see that it's guessing what the next word will be. And sometimes it's correct. And sometimes you can literally sit with your phone and just press on suggestions. And some sentences will be completely correct, but sometimes it's completely wrong and you have to course correct it. And that's all AI is. It isn't intelligent. It may be a few more years before we have what's called AGI, where it's like really like a human being, but I think it's further out than people think. But you have to bear in mind that it's a tool. It's like a calculator. A calculator will not make you money. It's what you type into it that will help make money. A spreadsheet won't make you money. For me, the spreadsheet is the best piece of software ever invented, because it's made me multiple millions, because I put all my sales data into spreadsheets and then decided which is the smartest thing to do and what's the dumbest thing to do. So it's a tool. So you can't let it rule you. You have to be in charge of it.
That makes sense, total sense. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, as I thought it would be. Thank you for your time, Chris. You mentioned before how people can reach out to you, how people can get in touch and learn more about you, but also the courses that you offer. Could you just tell us again where we need to go to do that?
Yes, so if anybody wants to get in contact with me and get a little gift from me, they email me at hellochrispayne@gmail.com. And as I say, that is my personal email address. And equally, I have a website at christopherjohnpayne.com, where they can find out more about my history and people I've worked with. But if you drop me a line and ask me a question, or you say, can you give me a free gift on beginnings of how to use AI, I will very happily send them that, because I've got all kinds of little things I can just send them. But life is about relationship. We are monogamous people. Most of us have one core partner, and we bring up our own children. And I like to have relationship with people, and I like to have people in my life that want to have what I call it almost like a sacred relationship, where I really connect with them, proper deep friendships. And I like to have clients who are just lovely people. So if you are a lovely person who just wants some help, I am here for you, because you're a fellow human like me on this journey called life. I'm 65 now, and I haven't got that many years, maybe 20 years, but I'm towards the end of my life, though I keep fit. I'm here to serve. That's what I do. And I'm sure. And so if I can help you, I am here for you.
That's lovely, Chris. Thanks again for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. We wish you all the very best as well.
Thank you.